So moving on to the agenda. Today we're going to look at 5 key areas, the first one being Control and Shift shortcuts, and this will get you to navigate very quickly around your spreadsheets. The VLOOKUP formula, which everybody needs to know how to do. Sort and filter, which will help you find the information that you're looking for faster from large sets of data. Data tools for separating multiple bits of information from a single cell and making them more useful. And finally, removing duplicate data. And then the 5th area we'll look at is formatting and some quick tips to save a lot of time fiddling about with how a spreadsheet looks. Today's training is going to use examples from the consumer products industry, so there should be a familiar scenario to the majority of you. However, if your role involves something slightly different and you have any specific questions at the end, then please get in touch and I'll answer them for you. It's going to be interactive training where I'll talk you through the theory, I'll demonstrate how it works on a live spreadsheet, and then you'll be able to have a go on the practice file that you've been sent through. As Heidi said, there will be poll questions so I can get a feel for how you're getting on. The first poll is just to understand which versions of Excel you're using. There's some pictures here so you can familiarise yourselves. If you just have a look at that, recognise which version you're using and then answer the poll to let us know. Heidi, if you can launch that now, that would be great. Okay, we can stop that there. That's great. So it looks like the majority of you are on 2010 or 2013, but there are still a few of you are on 2003 version, but just a small percentage. You can see the results there on the screen. I'll explain where there are differences between the versions. I'll explain them as I go along. So hopefully that should be all right for everyone, but let's know if something isn't working for you. Okay? Right, so if we're all ready, we'll get started. So, shortcut number 1, Control and Shift. These are shortcuts which are going to get you moving around your spreadsheet a lot more quickly. Before I give you the shortcuts, I just want to understand what methods you're using at the moment. So I've got another poll for you, but just a quick demonstration. I'd like to know, when you have a set of data like this, it should be on your screen shortly. Here we go. Are you scrolling with your mouse like this, up and down the page? Or are you maybe using the sidebar to scroll and pulling that down until you get to the bottom of the data? Or are you using an Excel shortcut? Heidi, if you could launch that poll for me, please. Okay, we can close that one there. So you should be able to see the results for that one now as well, which tells me that 60%, so 2/3 of you on the call, this next section will be really helpful for. Well done to those of you who are using the control shortcuts. Stay with us and we'll be with tip number 2 shortly. Hopefully after today, for those of you not using it, Control and Shift will be your new best friends. So I'd just like you to take a moment now to familiarise yourself with the keys that I've highlighted here on the screen in yellow, and your own keyboard. They will be in slightly different positions depending on which computer you're using, whether you're using the laptop keyboard or a computer keyboard. So just take a moment to find all those buttons that I've highlighted. They are Control and Shift in the bottom left corner, Home and End towards the top right, and then the arrow keys. Okay, hopefully you've all found those on your keyboard. So the next thing I'm going to do is demonstrate how some of them work. I don't want you to switch to the practice file yet. I want you to keep watching me on the screen and I'll give you a chance in a moment to have a go. I'm just going to wait for that to load for you. Okay, so here we've got a spreadsheet, and within this spreadsheet this is sales data from every different product from every supermarket within this retailer estate and some information with it. All this totals to over 65,000 rows of data. So if I start to scroll down here, if I want to find the bottom, it's going to take me an awfully long time. A really quick way to do this is to use a control shortcut, which is Control combined with the arrow keys. This gets you moving around the spreadsheet really quickly. So if I'm in cell A1 and I want to get to the bottom of this column, I'm going to hold down the Control key and press the down arrow, and you can see I've been taken straight to 65,527 in terms of rows of data in less than a second. It also works if you want to go back up, so Control and the up arrow takes me back to the top, Control and right takes me to the furthest point on the right. I can go to the bottom again, and I can hold down Control and press left to go to the left. I'd just like you to take a minute now with the practice file. If you open it up, make sure you're on the EPOS Data tab and just familiarise yourself with using those on the keyboard. So just keep going from top to bottom and left to right. So if you'd like to have a go at that now, please. Can you please now put your hand up, raise your hand, if that makes sense, if you've had a chance to give it a go. Great, looks like most of you are nearly there. Just give you another few seconds to have a go. Okay, that's great. Don't worry if you've not quite got it. We'll be using them a lot throughout the rest of the session, so you'll have plenty more practice. So if you can come back to the screen to watch my Excel file now. Another quick way of reaching the end of your spreadsheet is to use Control and the End button. So if you're not sure how much data you've got or where the end point is, if you hold down the Control key and press the End button, it'll take you to the furthest to the right and the furthest point down in the spreadsheet. So that's one way. And the opposite of that is Control and Home. So if you're anywhere in the spreadsheet and you quickly want to get back to cell A1, you can hold down Control and press the Home key and it'll take you straight back to the top. Now all this is most useful when it's combined with the Shift key, which allows us to highlight data as we navigate around. So if you wanted to highlight this entire data set here, again, based on the survey responses that you gave us before, I imagine the majority of you would put the cursor on cell A1, highlight like this, and drag that all the way to the bottom. A quicker way to do that is if you're in cell A1 and you want to highlight all of this, as we know, controlling across and controlling down will take us to the top and the bottom. However, if I hold down Control and the Shift key, which is the arrow key usually directly above Control, if I hold both of those down and I press across and I press down, you can now see I've highlighted the entire spreadsheet. So I would just like you to have a go at that as well. If you can open your practice files, wherever you are, if you press Control and Home, it'll take you back to cell A1. Then use the Control and Shift key along with the arrows to highlight the entire data set. And I'll just give you a minute to have a go at that. And if you can raise your hand as and when you've done that. That's great. Okay, if you'd just like to come back and look at the screen, leave your practice file for a moment. So when we used Control and Shift in its entirety and the down key, using them together highlights the entire data. How about if we just wanted to highlight columns A to F and then all the way down? Using Shift on its own highlights, but it highlights one cell at a time. So I'm holding down the Shift key now and pressing right one at a time. If I don't want to highlight the rest of that, if I was to press Control now, it goes all the way to the end, but just holding Shift allows me to move one at a time. So I'm just going to head to Sales Value, then I'm going to press the Control key, and then I'm going to go down to make sure I get all of that data there. So just have a go at that as well. Again, Control and Home will get you back to the beginning. Start in cell A1, hold down Shift, scroll across until you get to column F, and then hold down Control and select all that data. Please put your hand up again when you've done that. That's great. Well done, everybody. With these shortcuts, we're going to continue to practice with them throughout the session. They do feel a bit alien to you at first if you're not used to using them. They do take a bit of practice. You just have to try and be strict with yourself, keep the mouse out of the way, and practice with them for the next few hours, few days, and before you know it, they'll be second nature, and you'll wonder how you cope without them before. They really are that helpful for moving around very quickly. As I said, we're going to practice them more as we go through, so don't worry if you haven't quite got the hang of it yet. So now we're going to move on to top tip number 2, probably the one you've all been waiting for, the VLOOKUP formula. So if you come back to the screen and watch my slides. So first of all, I'm going to talk you through the theory of the VLOOKUP formula, which hopefully will make it a little less intimidating. I guess many of you have probably tried it before, but for one reason or another it's not quite worked out and maybe you've given up on it. So I've got an example here that will make you think that without realizing it, you'll be doing VLOOKUPs manually in your head every single day as you process the information around you. If we have a look at these menus on the left here, if you imagine that you walk into Starbucks and the information you're looking for on this menu is the price of a grande cappuccino. So if you think about how your brain would do this, first of all you'll scroll down that list on the left hand side to find the cappuccino. Once you've found the cappuccino, then you'll follow that information along to the right until you find the relevant column that has the price of the grande size in. And that should get you to the point of finding a price of £2.60. The way in which we've just done that and the way in which you've read that menu is the same as doing a VLOOKUP. You've looked up and down a list, you found the information that you want, and then you found some corresponding information. For those of you who are like me and don't drink coffee, I put the Nando's menu there on the right. I thought it might be more relevant than the Starbucks one. But hopefully that's given you an idea of the principle of what a VLOOKUP formula does. Now I'm going to translate that for you into Excel language. What I've done here now is try to visualize this menu as a spreadsheet. So if you look, I've numbered the columns of information from 1 to 7. And imagine this is a spreadsheet with rows and columns. So in this instance, the formula would read as follows. If you can see it at the bottom of the screen there, equals VLOOKUP to start the formula. The first thing you need to tell the formula is what it is that you're looking for. So in this case, we're looking for a cappuccino. We then have a comma. Where will you find that information? Well, we'll find that information somewhere within the coffee menu. And then what information is it we want to return once we found the cappuccino? Well, we want the information that's in column 4, which is the price for the grande. And then false, I'll explain later where that comes in. Can I just ask for a show of hands if you followed my analogy there? Marvellous. I think that's even worked better than my pivot table analogy that I use. Okay, so you're following me so far. We like coffee. That's great. So before we go on to how the VLOOKUP works, why is it important and why would you be interested in it? I truly believe that it's the most important formula that you will use at work. Once you've got the hang of it, you'll wonder how you coped without it before, and it really helps you to easily combine whether it's SKU and store information, whether it's employee information, whatever it might be. It's the most useful thing that you'll use from a day-to-day basis when you're looking at multiple sources of data. And the formula uses a unique identifier. So again, that can be barcodes, it can be product codes, it can be employee numbers, it can be store information. Whatever the unique identifier is for the piece of information you're looking for, if you've got that and it's in more than one place, you can easily do a VLOOKUP. Now, another question before we go on. Please raise your hands if you can confidently write a VLOOKUP formula and make it work every single time. Okay, so that's good. That's settling at about 25% of people on the phone, which is great news because that means the next bit's relevant to 75% of you in the audience. So I'm going to go back to the practice file now. I'm going to show you how one of these will work. Okay, so back on your screen now, you should be able to see the same EPOS data that we were dealing with before when we were practicing the shortcuts. And you can see here that I've got store numbers and I've got store names. Now, an example that would be useful and relevant in this case is if we wanted to know how the sales were doing of each of these products by store format. So that's probably a scenario that's familiar to a lot of you. A lot of the supermarkets in the UK have different store formats and classify their stores in that way. So in this case, I have got a separate store list. So here are all the retailer stores, their store numbers and the store format. But in the EPOS data, all I have is the store number and the store name. So I want to insert the store format into this spreadsheet to make it more useful for me, so I can compare sales by format rather than by store. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to insert a new column, and another control shortcut for you. I expect most of you now would right-click and insert. If you hold down the control key and press the plus button, then we automatically insert another column in here. So keep watching me. Don't try doing this on your own spreadsheet yet. We'll move on to those in a moment. So I've got a new column here for store format. So the VLOOKUP, just to show you this slide here, The Excel language is a bit more confusing and not really in plain English. I'm going to try and translate it for you so that when the prompts come up on the screen you understand more about what you've got there. So VLOOKUP first asks you for a lookup value. Essentially that's the item that you want to find. So in this example it's going to be the store number. The table array means where is the data, where can I find it? So the column it can be found in up until the column that has the information that you want to return. Col index number is asking you for the number of columns across that the data can be found in that you want. And false means only return the information, the exact match for the item that you're looking for. So if you see the formula, here at the bottom there, we've got equals VLOOKUP, 3113 is the store number in this example. The A to C says it's in those columns, the data can be found. Number 3 says the store format is in the third column along, and false tells Excel to find an exact match. I'm going to do one of these live for you now. So I'm back on the Excel file. So in this cell here I'm going to type equals VLOOKUP. V stands for vertical, so essentially what we're telling the formula here is vertically look up and down a list to find some information. That's what a VLOOKUP means. So equals VLOOKUP, open brackets. Then I'm going to select the cell that's got the store number in rather than typing it individually. It would take us a long time if we were going to type all these numbers individually for 65,000 lines of data. So I'm selecting the store number cell. I'm then going to put a comma in. Then I need to tell it where is the data found. So without clicking anything else, without pressing any more buttons, I'm going to click on the store list here. Using the shortcuts from earlier, I'm going to start from cell A1. I'm going to hold down the Control and the Shift key. I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to go to the left. Therefore, I've selected all the data that's in this store list. Then I need another comma. Then we need to tell it which column the information is in. So if it finds it, column 1 is where it finds the store number. Column 2 in this case is the store name. So column 3 is the store format. So that's the number that I'm going to type into my formula here. Then I'll do a comma and then the word false. If I close the brackets and return, you should see now I've got petrol convenience as a store format for that store. So I want you all to have a go now. Don't worry, I will talk you through it. I'll keep talking as you're on your Excel file. So if you can swap now to your practice file. And then I want you to insert a new column between columns D and column E. A quick way to do that is to highlight all of column E, use the control button and the plus key, and you'll insert a new column. If you give it a name in cell E1 of store format, and then when you're ready, we'll start writing the formula in cell E2. If you need to keep flicking back to the webinar screen to watch what I'm doing, feel free to do that, but I'll keep talking so hopefully you can follow me from in Excel where you're working. Okay, so I'm going to start typing the formula now and I'd like you to do the same. So I'm in cell E2, hopefully you've got that as well and it's blank. So I'm going to start with equals VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, open brackets. So when you've got that, then you need to click on cell C2 that has the first store number in the list. Then type comma. Then we need to tell it where to find the data. So again, don't click on anything, don't press any buttons, just scroll straight to the store list tab, click on that, go to cell A1, use your Control and Shift shortcuts that you've just learned to go right and down, so you've highlighted the entire data set. Again, from there, don't click anywhere, don't do anything, just type another comma. Then we need the column number of where the store format is, which is column 3, so type 3. Then a comma, and then false, F-A-L-S-E. Close brackets, and press return. I'm just going to give you another minute to have a look at that. If you'd like me to explain again, then please raise your hand. Okay, so that's looking good. I think you're all doing well. I'm going to go through it quickly one more time for those of you that would like me to. So I'm just going to start again in cell E2. So equals VLOOKUP, open brackets. Then select cell C2 that has the store number in and type a comma. Then without clicking anything else, go straight to the tab that says Store List. Click on that. From cell A1, use Control and Shift and the arrow keys to highlight the entire data set. Then a comma. Then you need to tell it the information for the store format is in column 3, so we type the number 3, comma, and then false. Close brackets and return. If you need to refer to the formula, I'll leave it on the screen so that you can see it there at the top. So we'll just give that a few more seconds, and then we've got a poll to see if we've got the right answer or not. Okay, Hayden, would you mind launching the next poll for me to see how we're doing? So the question here is, which store format is now showing in cell E2 where you've written that formula? Please can you vote to see which answer you've got, or to let us know that you've not been able to get the formula to work. Excellent. Well done, everybody. That's a really good result. There are a few people who still haven't managed to get it to work. I'm not going to go back over it now again because we'll be short on time for the end of the session, but we'll send out the slides. You'll have the formula. You'll be able to give it a go. Keep the practice file and keep trying. There's bound to be somebody in your office that will be able to help you with it, so I would suggest getting some advice. But overall, we've got, what, 85% of people there with the right answer. For the 2% that ended up with Superstore as an answer, just check that you selected cell C2 and maybe not C3 as part of the formula, because that convenience store definitely only appears once on the list, so it could be that in this part of the formula here, just check you've got that cell C2 selected. Okay, great work. Well done, everybody. So so we've got this formula. What we'd like to do is drag that down so that we've got an answer in there, a store format for each of the stores on the file. Now if I drag this formula down, this is a common error that happens, can you see we've returned most of them there, but we're missing a store format for Aberdeen Hypermarket. If we have a look at these formulas, you see this formula here is looking up C2 and it's in store list A1 to C1794. As I've moved that formula down, it's moved to C3, which is great because that's the store number we want to look up. But can you see here that the numbers of the store list have changed from A2 to C1795? So by the time we get down to Aberdeen, this is looking up store list from A4 to C1797. If we look back at the store list, then Aberdeen is actually in cell A3. So with this formula is only looking from A4, so therefore it's effectively missing out Aberdeen. The way around this is to lock your cell references so that it always looks up from A1 to C1794. You can do that. You may have seen the dollar signs that you can put in front. So if I press F4 here, if I lock those, I can now copy this formula down, and you can see here C2 has become C3, but A1 to C1794 has stayed the same. So that's one option. The other option that I prefer with the VLOOKUP is actually in the store list. If you select the entire column, then it doesn't matter if that store list gets bigger, if there's more stores added on the bottom, you don't have to update and refresh the range. So I'm just going to show you how to do that by deleting these. So I'm going to do my VLOOKUP again in this cell here. So equals VLOOKUP, open the brackets, choose the store number, comma, and then store list. Instead of going from A1, I'm going to select all of column A, B, and C. And can you see at the top here, it now just says store list A:C, which means it doesn't matter which row the data is in or where it ends, but it'll look up the entire length of column A to find what we're looking for. So comma 3, comma false. So I'm going to copy this formula down here now. Let's see if we can get Aberdeen back. There we go, and Aberdeen is now looking all the way from A to C, all the way down. So could you please now amend the formula that you've got in cell E2 to equal this one at the top? So remove you can either write the formula again, selecting the entire columns, or remove the row numbers from that formula. I'll leave this on screen so you can see the difference. And if you could put your hands up if you want me to explain how I did that again. Okay, just a couple of you. The main difference is, if you look at the top here, I'll highlight it for you, where it says A to C, your previous one will say A1 to C1797 or whatever the number was. If you just delete those numbers, you should just then have A:C, and that will be looking up the entire column. Another quick hands up, just to see if that makes sense to everybody. So please put your hand up if you're still following me. Great, that's good reassurance. It's always a bit more tricky when you can't see people's faces to see how they're getting on. Okay, so you've all got that formula now in cell E2. Now this shortcut's for free for you. If you don't know this, you'll absolutely love it. I want to copy this formula now down for this entire list of data. So if I was to drag it, from what we looked at earlier, this would take me a long, long time to get to the bottom of this list. And so you could easily spend a couple of minutes doing that. Is anybody familiar with this black box here? If I double click on this, you see how the cursor changes from a white cross to a black cross? When I hover over this black square in the bottom, if I double click it, that will fill my formula right to the bottom of that column. Can you just put your hand up if you knew that shortcut before? If you've never used the double click before, please keep your hand down. Great, so that's about 40% of you that have used that before, so for the other 60% of you, hopefully that's just saved you a half an hour a day on its own for that shortcut. So that's a quick way. The only thing to make sure is with some versions of Excel, if you've got a gap in the data on the left, it'll stop when it hits a blank cell on the left-hand side. So in all instances, I would just recommend a quick control and down arrow to make sure your formula has copied to the bottom of that list. Okay? So if we've got time, we're going to practice another VLOOKUP later on, but hopefully that's demystified it for you and made it a little more simple. You will have the access to this recording, you'll have access to these slides, and you've got the practice file. So if you need to pick it up again in the future, you can do, and I would recommend you get practicing on some data of your own as soon as possible. Once you've done it a few times, it'll become second nature, and you'll be using it all the time. Now there are a few things to watch out for, and this is where people sometimes run into trouble. So basically the values have to match exactly. They're not case sensitive, so it doesn't matter if something's in capitals, something else is in small letters, but they do need to be exactly the same. If you've got a misspelling on somebody's name or on a store name or a product list, it won't find a match for you. A VLOOKUP will only find an exact match. So spelling mistakes don't help in this instance. One of the main problems can be when something looks to the naked eye exactly the same, so a number in one column looks exactly the same as a number in another spreadsheet and you can't see the difference at all. The likely cause will be the cell format. So up here, I'm just pointing that on the screen, hopefully you can see where I'm pointing. This is saying that these cells in this column all have a general format. I think they will be throughout this spreadsheet. If I go to another one here, then you can see that has changed to number. So sometimes, especially if a number is stored as a text, you won't necessarily notice it because you can't see it. But you've got a number, if you've got a number stored as text, then it won't find it. Excel will look for a number against a number or a general, but it will not look for a number and match it up with a text because that's looking for two different bits of information. So if the VLOOKUP's not working, make sure that the information you're searching for and the information that's on your original spreadsheet are of the same type. If you see a hash and an NA, it means the results, the formula can't find an exact match. So it's not in the other list that you're looking for, or there's something wrong, the number's different, the spelling's different. So don't be put off. It doesn't mean that you've written the wrong formula. It could just mean that that data doesn't exist in the other file. Okay, great. We're going to move on to shortcut number 3 now. Let's go through these. So we're going to move on to sort and filter. If you can all just come back to the PowerPoint for now. Okay, I imagine you've all applied a filter before and you've selected data from the drop-down menu, so I'm going to assume that you know how to do that. What I'm going to do is show you some extra functionality that will help speed things up a little bit. So I'm going to demonstrate in the practice file. Again, you stay watching the screen, don't switch back to Excel just yet. So here I've got a fact sheet full of brands. I've got product codes, product names, some information about which brand this is, the category it is, the format it is. So I'm just going to apply a filter to this information. So what I expect you've probably done is if we wanted to find brand ViaCal from this list here, we can click on here, find ViaCal and select it using the ticks. But how about if we had a more complicated thing? So if we wanted to find all the products within this list that were for lime scale, how would we do that? Who would go? Please put your hand up if your choice then would be to go through this list one by one. Oops, let me just make that a little bit bigger. Would you go through this list one by one and look for all the SKUs that say lime scale? Just put your hand up if that's the approach that you'd take. Okay, so that's about a third of you. So I'm going to show you guys the quickest way to do this, because the problem with that, if you go manually going through, obviously there's a lot of products there, so that's going to take you a long time. It's also open to quite a bit of human error in that you might miss one and they're not all there. So I'll try and find something that's similar in all these. Now the word lime scale doesn't necessarily appear, but you might find the word scale. So there's a search bar here. You might not have noticed it before, so this you'll be used to seeing at the top of your filters, but there is a search bar. This appears on 2007. This appears on 2010 and 2013 versions of Excel, so I'll just demonstrate that first. So if I write in here scale and press OK, you'll see now I've got how many products there? 9 products there that are all descalable or lime scale products. So that's how you do it in 2010 or 2013. There's a button here to clear that filter if you want to bring them all back. If you're in the 2007 version, you won't have a search bar that you can type straight in, but you will have text filters, which you might not have explored before. So if you click on text filters and contains, it brings up this little box, and here we can type in the word that we want to search for. So if I type in scale and press OK, it has exactly the same result of finding 9 records in there. So whichever version of Excel you're using, please can you have a go at that now. So if you switch back to your practice file, put a filter on the brand fact sheet page, and then using the text filter or the search bar, find the 9 products that have got lime scale in, or that are for removing lime scale, should I say. And if you could put your hand up, please, as and when you've done that. Okay, those numbers aren't going up quite as fast, so I'm going to explain again for you. So I'm within the brand fact sheet page of the Excel file. I've got a filter applied, which I go to the data tab at the top of Excel and then choose filter, and it will apply a filter to that whole area. Then I'm going to click the button, the filter at the top of the product name, so the top of column B. Then if I'm in 2010 or 2013, I've got a search bar here. It'll be on your screen now if you want to flick back. And in the search bar, I'm going to type the word scale. Press OK, and I get 9 products back. If I'm in the 2010 version, I'm going to select text filters from this option, and then the contains option. You've got lots of different things there, but I'm going to choose the contains option, and again type in scale until I get that list back. Okay, please put your hand up again if that's okay and you've managed to achieve that. Great. I think everyone's with me now. Brilliant, well done. Okay, so another example. So in that case we're wanting to find scale. But how about if we want to combine something different? How about if we want to find all the promotional packs? So I'm just going to clear the filter on here again. And if we scroll down this list, you can see there's a few 33% extra frees, 20% extra frees. So one way of identifying your promotional packs might be to find anything that's got a percentage in it. Again, you don't really want to have to go down that list manually. So whichever version of Excel you're using, rather than typing scale this time, let's try a percentage sign and see what happens. If you can just have a little go at that as well. Okay, and please put your hand up once you've got that list showing. Great, okay. Well done. So the next one is, how about, if you clear the filter off that list again, so you've got the full product list back, how about if we wanted to find all the SIF products and that we use for bathroom. This is going to be everybody using the text filters now, so the search bar won't help us in this instance because you can only search for one thing at a time in there. But if we choose text filters and goes to contains, I can type contains SIF, and then you've got these options of and or. So in this case, I'm looking for something that contains SIF and contains the word bathroom. So if I click on here, I've got a choice of options I can use. So I'm going to choose contains again and then type the word bathroom. And if I click OK, you should see now I've got 4 products there that are all SIF bathroom products. I could have done that with the filters in column C and D, but let's pretend they're not there for a moment and we needed to do it from the product list. So if you could do that, so we want something that contains SIF and contains bathroom, and please raise your hand again when you've done that. Great, that number's ticking up nicely. I'll just give it another 10-20 seconds. And I'll just run through it. So again, text filters contains, in your first box, type the first word that you want, so in this case SIF, and choose from the drop-down menu. We also want the phrase to contain bathroom. So hopefully you've got that list now. To show you another option, we can also choose products that do not contain a particular word. So as another example, if I clear this list off again and you watch this one with me, if I'm looking for products that contain Mr. Muscle but they're not shower products, I'll show you how I do that. So again, product name, text filters, contains. So I'm looking for Mr. Muscle. See if I can spell that today. Yep, contains Mr. Muscle but this time I want it to not contain the word shower. So there's an option here for does not contain, and I'm going to type in shower. So you'll see there I'm left with sink and blockers, window and glass spray, but you won't find the shower product now within that list. So I'd like you all to have a go at that, please. I'll talk you through it again, and if you can raise your hands when you've completed it. So we're looking for products that contain Mr. Muscle, there's a space in between those two words, but does not contain shower. I'll explain it again in a moment for you. Okay, right, I'm going to take you through it again. So if you're not quite there yet, you want to pause, you can come back to the main screen and I'll demonstrate it for you. So I'll choose the filter on product name. I select text filters. I'm going to start with contains. So this says show me rows where the product name contains Mr. Muscle. So if I just pressed OK now, it would bring me all Mr. Muscle products. But I don't want the ones that have the word shower in. So it does contain Mr. Muscle and select does not contain shower. I'll leave it on the screen for a moment before I press OK so that if you're trying to follow it yourselves, you can copy it. Again, raise your hands when you've got the list of products up on your screen. Okay, that seems like a lot more of you have got the hang of that one now. It takes a bit of practice. There's lots of different combinations. Because you've got contains, does not contain, you've got begins with, ends with, is less than, is greater than. It works with numbers as well. So you might not have the hang of it completely by today, but hopefully you remember it's there, and that if you are going down a list of things and you're ticking them one by one and you feel like it's going on forever and you've got hundreds of products, think, what's the common term that I could search for here? Where could I apply a text filter and how will that help me? And that'll save you plenty of time. Okay, so wherever you are now, if you can just clear it back so you've got everything showing on the screen again. All the products are back there. So here we've got the list and we've got the brands, the categories and the formats, but it's not in any particular order. I'm guessing most of you before will have used these A to Z and Z to A buttons at the top of the screen here, which will put things either in alphabetical order, first to last or last to first. As an aside, this also works for numbers. So if you've got a column worth of numbers, using A to Z will sort it from the lowest number to the highest number, and Z to A the highest number to the lowest number. So you've got those options. But here, how about if we want to sort it by category, and then by brand, and then by format? If I was to press the A to Z on the category column here, you can see it puts all purpose cleaners together, but then the brands are all split away from each other. The formats are or I could do it by brand, but again that's not particularly helpful because we don't have the categories together. So we're going to use this button up here, the sort function. It should be hovering over on your screens now so you can see it. You may not have used it before. If you click on this, again I'll show you and then you can have a go at it afterwards. This is asking me how do I want to sort this data. It will give me a list of all the columns that are there and how do I want to sort it. So actually first of all I want to sort this by category. So I'm going to choose category from the list and I'm going to sort it from A to Z. But after it's got all the categories in order, I then want it to put the brands in order. So you see there's a button up here called Add Level. If I click that, I can then sort by brand, and that will go A to Z. But then also within the brand, I want all the formats to be together. So I'm going to add another level and choose Format. And when I click OK, you can see now here that all purpose cleaners are all together, and then they're in order of brand. So all the SIF all purpose cleaners are together, then the Dettol, then the Flash, and then within a brand. So if we look at Dettol, you've got all the liquids, then all the sprays. So you can carry on adding an infinite number of levels depending on how many categories you've got and how much data you want to sort. So it's a really, really useful tool. If you decide you want to take a level away, this one that we've got format, I can just delete it and it won't matter, although in this case it'll stay like that. So I want you to go back to your practice files now and have a go at sorting that data, first by category, then by brand, and then by format. I'll give it a minute for you to get back there, then I'll explain it again. Okay, so if you're all on the page now, I'm just going to talk through it again for anyone who wants me to. So I'm within this list. I'm going to select the sort function, which is in data, and then sort and filter. So I'm going to click on sort. Let me just get rid of this level so it comes up as it would for you. So first of all, sort by category. If you wanted to sort by brand first, you could just choose that from the list. But for this example, I'm going to sort by category. And if you wanted it to go upside down, you could sort it from Z to A instead of A to Z, but we'll keep it simple and A to Z. Then I'm going to add a level and choose to sort by brand. I can then add another level and sort by format. So I'm just going to leave that on the screen for a moment so you can refer to it if you need to as you're doing it yourselves. And if you could put your hand up when you've got the list sorted in that order, that would be great. Okay, you're nearly there. I'm just going to give it a little bit longer for those of you not quite there yet. Okay, great. I think we're nearly there. So we're going to move on again. If everyone's happy with that one, we're going to move on to shortcut number 4, which is an element of Excel called Data Tools. So the first data tool that we're going to talk about is something called text to columns. Please could you raise your hands if you've heard of or used text to columns before? Okay, so only about a quarter of you. That's great. Again, this will be relevant to a lot of you. So if you look at this list on the left-hand side here under the first blue arrow, you can see you've got product codes and product names all in one list. And you know you've got a list somewhere else because we've just been working on it of products, the brands, the category, so different attributes of that. And wouldn't it be great if we could combine that together so we were able to look at this list by brand or by category? The beady-eyed amongst you will have noticed we've got a bit of a problem because if we want to look up the SKU code in here and in the other fact sheet, at the moment here this is all combined into one cell. So we don't have anything within the other spreadsheet that we can VLOOKUP this against because we've got the numbers and the product description all combined into one. What we want to do is get it to the two columns next to it, so we've got a separate one with product code and a separate one with product name. Now I've been very guilty of this in the past and I've seen a lot of people do it. So if you're honest enough on the phone, who on the line would independently copy and paste each of those product numbers into a separate cell? Great. Those of you who are pressing this button are definitely not alone. There's plenty of people who would spend a lot of time doing this. So text to columns is going to be your saviour now. So I'm going to show you how it works and how to do it. So again, if you keep watching the screen, I'll pop back to Excel. Okay, so I'm on a file here now called sales data, which you can see. Great, that's up on your screen. So the data here in column A is whether, like the example I had on the screen before, where we've got a product code combined with a product name. What I want to do is put the product code in one column and the product name in another. So I'm just going to insert a new column here, again using the shortcuts Control and the plus key, add a new column. Then I need to highlight all this data, so Control, Shift and down, I've got all the SKUs highlighted. Then the wizard is within data at the top here, within data tools, and it's there, text to columns. The hardest bit's remembering where to find it, to be honest. So the wizard opens, which will guide you through it, so it's not too complicated. There's two options. There's a delimited one, which means there's a different character that tells you where in the cell the information splits, so this could be when you get a barcode in a bracket or something like that, or a fixed width, which means we want to cut the cell in exactly the same place every single time. That's the option we want this time because we can see these product codes that are beginning, they're all the same length, so it would be easy for us to split the cell here. So I'm going to choose the fixed width option and go on to next. Excel then gives you a preview. It's quite clever, it guesses because it can see those product codes and it says, I think you probably want to make a split here, and hopefully when you do this yourselves you'll have that black arrow will appear. So that's a preview that says anything to the left of that black line is going to be in one column and anything to the right is in the other, which is great, that's what we want. So I'm going to press next and then finish, and you can see there now I've got a column of product codes and a column of product names. So I'd like you all to have a go at that. I will explain it. If you've not done it before, it might seem complicated. If you go back to your Excel files, I'll talk you through how to do it. So you want the tab that's called Sales Data. Okay, let me just undo this so I can show you again. Okay, so you should have the spreadsheet in front of you. We need to insert a new column to be able to put this data in once it's moved. So if you highlight column B, hold down the Control key and press the plus key, you'll get a new column. Then want to highlight the data that we're working with. So if you start from A2, hold down Control and Shift, press the down arrow, we'll go to the bottom, you've got the whole data set highlighted. We'll then choose text to columns from this option of data tools. So data tab at the top, look across to the right until you find data tools and then it's in text to columns. Click on that. Then the option we want is the fixed width, so choose the fixed width of the options there and click on next, and hopefully Excel will have provided for you a black line after that last digit of the product number. If you click next then and finish, you should end up with two columns, one with your product number and one with your product name. And please raise your hands if you've completed that. Fantastic. That's brilliant. I'm not going to go over that one again because you've done so well on it, but I'm going to do a slightly different one. So if you come back to the screen and watch my example for a moment, in column G we've got another scenario. So we've got the same list of products and the same list of codes, but it's not as neat this time because the product code isn't at the beginning, the product code is at the end. So we can't use fixed width because it's not going to appear at the same place every time. But there is something that notifies us of where the product number starts. In that case it's a dash, so we can use that dash as the key to tell Excel where we want to make the split. So I'm going to put another new column in between G and H. I'm going to highlight this data here and open the text to columns wizard again, and instead of fixed width I'm going to choose delimited this time. You'll see it comes up with some preset options, so a tab, semicolon, comma, space are the most common ones, but if you can put in anything, so whether it's a square bracket, an open bracket. So I'm going to select other by ticking the box next to it, and then I'm going to type a dash. And you can see in the preview below that has worked out that, right, every dash is going to move and we're going to see a product number there. So if that at the bottom looks like what you're wanting to see, then you're okay to go ahead and press next and finish. And again, you end up with two columns. This time we've got the product description on the left and the product number on the right. So please have a go at that yourselves, and remembering to insert a new column between G and H, and put your hand up when you've done it. I'm going to talk it through for you one more time. For anyone who's working on it at the moment, you can listen in the background. Let me just undo these. So I'm going to highlight column H, press Control on the plus key, and insert a new column. I'm going to start with G2 and use Control and Shift and the down arrow to highlight all the data. I'm going to open the text to columns wizard, where it's giving me the two options, delimited or fixed width. In this instance, we want the delimited option. Then we want to tick the box next to other and put a dash into the box where you can type what the character is. That will then give you the preview below, where you can see the description on the left and the number on the right. Click next and click finish. So a quick hands up again if you've managed to complete that. Okay, that's great. Well done, everybody. I'm going to move on now because we don't have much time left today. A really, really quick one. If you come back and watch my screen again, so I'm in the EPOS data. I've got a whole long list of products here. And actually what I want to do is get a SKU list of what are these products. There might only be 10, there might be 20, but I've got 65,000 rows of data. I don't want to have to scroll through and manually find them. So I want to copy this list first of all. So I'm going to highlight column B, and with another control shortcut, I'm going to hold down control and press C to copy. I'm going to start a new sheet, and I'm going to press Control and V to copy this list. So here I've got my 65,000 list of products. Now there's a really handy tool you might not have seen before in data tools called Remove Duplicates. If I highlight this entire column now of products I've got, and it might be that you're trying to find unique barcodes, unique employees, click on Remove Duplicates and it says select the column that you think contains the duplicates, so it already knows it's in this description column. If I press OK, you can see here that 65,517 duplicate values have been found and removed, and there's only 9 unique ones left. So again, that's taken me seconds to get down to that list rather than copying and pasting individual ones. So have a go at that one in your own time, because I'd like to move on to the last shortcut of today, which is number 5. So this one is all about formatting. I'll just wait till the computer catches up. Okay. On the right hand side of the screen here, can you see I've circled this button called Format Painter? Can you put your hand up if you know what Format Painter is and what it does? Okay, so that's up to about 40% of you. Again, for the other 60% who haven't seen it before, you're going to love it. Basically, it's for those times when you've got a cell and it's a certain font and it's a certain size and it's got a certain border and it's a certain colour, and then you decide you want to transfer that onto another cell and you have to start again trying to work out what size it was, what colour it was. I'll give you a quick example if you keep watching my screen. So I've got a standard promotion plan here. If I want to put a half price into P1 for this brand, and actually I want my half prices to have the same formatting as my bog-offs. I don't want to have to change that to yellow, put a border around, make it bold. I can select the cell that I want to copy, and the Format Painter essentially copies a format. So if I choose this, go to the Home tab, press the paintbrush, and then select the cell I want to copy the format to, you can see now the half price looks exactly the same as the bog-off did. You can do this multiple times. You don't have to go back to the Format Painter each time. You can double click on it, and then to your heart's content make different cells match that format. So hopefully that will save you a bit of time, especially for you who like formatting and having everything neat and tidy. Then the last shortcut is transpose, which, if you imagine this data here, the dates are running left to right and the brands are running up and down. If you wanted to change that around so your dates were running top to bottom and your brands from left to right, then again we could spend a lot of time copying and pasting each cell individually. If I select all of this and I Control-C to copy it and I want to put it below, and click on the cell and right click, paste special, and you'll see this word here, transpose. The hardest bit's remembering where it is and what it's called. If I click on that and choose the values because I don't want to upset my formulas, can you see now that my information is all the other way around? I just need to change this back to a date. So now I've got the dates from top to bottom, the brands from left to right, and I've not had to copy and paste them all individually. So that's just a little one at the end there. Again, you'll have the slides if you need to remember, and it's highlighted on there as to where that shortcut is. So that's been a whistle-stop tour of my 5 favourite shortcuts from all the training that I do. These are the things that people often don't know when you would expect them to, and they do save a lot of time. So I hope that's given you enough today to work on that you can practice and get used to them. And especially if you combine them, combining all these things together definitely means you'll save a lot of time. So we don't really have enough time today, I'm afraid, to answer all the questions that we've had in, but we will be recording a separate session that will be shared with you. Alternatively, you can email me directly. My email address is at the end. There are quite a few of the questions have been fairly technical, and will be better suited to a small group or face-to-face training rather than a group of this size and experience. So please get in touch if you'd like to explore the options. But one of the most common questions we've had is about training course recommendations. I truly believe that all training works best when it's applicable to your daily work, and most Excel training courses are not tailored at all to the participants, whereas everything I do is designed specifically for my clients using their data and their systems. So I'd encourage you to get in touch if you're interested in training for your team. Whatever your budget, we could probably sort something out for you, so please get in touch.